Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we're going to be flying out the old F6F-5 Hellcat. This American naval fighter sitting at 3.3 is another one of my favorites. I love everything in the U.S. naval line because they're just some of my favorite aircraft of all time. Without further ado, let's get into it. The F6F Hellcat. It was developed by Grumman in response to the poor performance of the F4F Wildcat, which it wasn't that poor, to be honest, but it was underpowered and it did not succeed the way the United States has hoped. So the F6F came out, and it was a massive improvement over it. It put in the brand new, all singing, all dancing R2800 double Wasp engine that we all know and love. This same engine that's featured on the P-47s, featured on the F4 Corsairs, F4U Corsairs, and the F8F Bearcats. This is an earlier version, so it's not as tuned, because this plane came out in 1943. Its first action came on September 1st, 1943, where it shot down an H-8K Emily flying boat. Its next action was over Tarawa, where it claimed a supposed 30 kills, I believe. I'm taking a look. 30 zeros to the loss of one Hellcat. And then on the 11th of November, it had an action over Rabaul where it claimed 50 aircraft. This was the dominant fighter of the Pacific War for the United States for the U.S. Navy. It was chosen because of its flight characteristics. It was not as fast as the Corsair, and that did show because the Corsair did eventually replace it in service, but that only really happened after World War II. Severe damage him, and the reason being is really just the Corsair was the better fighter for the future, but the Hellcat was the better fighter for the present. The Corsair, or not the Corsair, I just recorded a video, so I'm sorry if I'm... The Hellcat had one of the highest kill-to-death ratios of the war, and it was used all the way from 1943 until the war's end in 1945. This thing really, really did change the... It turned the tables in the Pacific War, because it allowed American pilots to have a plane of comparable performance to the Mitsubishi A6M Zeros. And honestly, it outperformed a lot of the early ones. The later ones, not so much, because the later ones did get upgrades. But the A6M3s, the A6M2s, the ones that you mainly saw, I got a LA5 behind me, really did not fare well. A notable incident, well, I say incident, it was kind of on purpose, that the Grumman F6F Hellcat was the main fighter for the U.S. Navy, was known as the Marianas Turkey Shoot. And this was it was during the Marianas Island campaign, no shit. And it was essentially where the Japanese Air Corps, like, they'd already been cracked after Guadalcanal. They weren't doing so hot after the Battle of Guadalcanal. But during the Marianas Turkey Shoot, they lost the lion's share of their trained pilots. And this really ends up breaking the Japanese Air Force, and they lose multiple, like, entire squadrons. And what ends up I'm stuttering like a motherfucker, I'm sorry. The main creditor for their losses at, I think, over 75% was the number I saw. It's probably somewhere in the range of 60. Now that I say it, it'll probably change tomorrow. They were mainly accredited with almost 60%, 60 to 75, I'll say that's a good number, of the Japanese losses during that campaign. The Grumman Hellcat, one of the most notable ships it flew off of was the USS Enterprise, where she flew with, I think, VF-1, I believe, a squadron known as the Grim Reapers. Aces like Butch O'Hare flew this with VF3, and Flash Gordon flew this off of the Enterprise. Flash had 5, Butch had 8 or 9. And they were also used in one of the earliest examples of naval night fighting. Hellcats, as seen in game with the F6F-5 FN, or F5N, had radars attached to them. And they were sent in to fly intruder missions over Japanese airfields. And this is one of the earliest examples of night fighters being launched off of carriers, especially in an offensive role as well. This had been done previously, especially in Europe with the P-61s. But this is the first time a single-engine fighter was really put into this role and succeeded. The Grumman F6F Hellcat was beloved for its reliability and its durability, taking cannon hits, 7.62 hits, and still managing to fly back home. I got company. I had a Hawker Hurricane nipping at me. But I'm gonna work on killing this French Warhawk. He's still not done with me. There we go. He finally ended up getting me. So, in its service, the F6F Hellcat did a whole bunch. Like, it flew a whole mess of ground attack, it flew a whole mess of night fighting. This was really the Navy's all-purpose fighter during the Second World War. And it really, really shows, because it has one of the highest kill-to-loss ratios of any fighter the U.S. Navy has ever fielded. It did work against the Japanese air arm, or the Japanese fleet. Okay, he's going down. I need to pull up, because my wings are starting to flap. And it really, really shined in its role as a CAP aircraft, or Combat Air Patrol. And this is essentially just limiting the amount of enemy planes that can get within the anti-air bubble of ships, like the Enterprise, like your heavy carriers, like your battleships, the things that are expensive to replace. Like, if a destroyer gets hit, you know, it's sad that a bunch of guys die. Oh well. If an aircraft carrier gets hit, that's a really, really big blow to the war effort. So these things were utilized in cap orbits and defended the USS Enterprise, ships like the Enterprise, the Yorktown, the Essex class Yorktown, not the one that was sunk at Midway, and really, really shined in that role. It had solid combat time, it had a lot of fuel, it had a lot of ammunition, and pilots used it to great effect to absolutely butcher the enemy. And if I shot any better, I could be doing a lot better. But, you know, I suck. This thing in War Thunder is actually fairly true to life. It does very, very well out of dives, it has great high-speed turn, and you can whip this thing around. Of course, you're not going to be out-turning a lot of, like, the Russian things or the Japanese things, but you can still whip this thing around pretty damn hard, and it be absolutely fine. Now, this Nakajima Ki-44 is about to find out that you don't fuck with the Hellcat. And that really was one of this thing's principal opponents. It fought a lot of Zeros, a lot of KI-84s, and a lot of Oscars. That's not an Oscar. I don't know. I don't remember what it is. I'm sorry, I'm being stupid. And this thing in War Thunder is really the prototypical American fighter. Dive on your opponents. It's got fairly good high-speed turn, but try and keep it in a straight line, because it will just flat-out run things down. It's got a fantastic engine that will get you out of a whole heck of a lot of bad situations. And it's gotten me out of more bad situations than I can count. Like, I probably would not be winning any of these if I didn't have nearly the kind of engine performance that this thing has. And as you can see, the massive ammunition reserves on this thing, I think it gets like 3,400 rounds or something like that. 2,400. Really does benefit, because I have not been shooting all of that well. And I have 6 kills. Now, when dealing with Japanese planes, did you see how he kind of just forced the head-on? Take them. Take those head-ons, because 9 times out of 10, as true to life, you will tank rounds. Especially those 50s, especially those 7.7s, you will tank a lot of their rounds. This is a very, very rugged airframe. It's got good high-speed turn, and it's just one of my favorites in the game. Now, the Focke-Wulf 190s do worry me. I can outturn them, but I'm still, like, I still have to be respectful of the heavy cannon armament, as well as the great dive speeds. I'm dead. I'm cooked. I'm cooked. Hey, 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 hey. This kitten is trying to get on my keyboard as I'm dogfighting this plane. I got a solid burst there. I've got 60 rounds. 60 for number 7. There we go! Flamed him out, and he's probably going down. Yep. Yep. That's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go RTB because I need ammunition. No, 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 no. Don't bring him to me. Don't bring him to me while I'm taking off. Oh, this isn't gonna be good. He's cooked. Please don't hit the ground that hard. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're right at the airfield. No! But he's going down. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I think that will be all. I think we ended on a pretty good note with that last game for 8 kills. That was the F6F-5 Hellcat. It's one of my favorite fighters in the game. I am pretty dang good with it. And I will see you guys. Remember, I stream at 8 o'clock tonight. And if I don't see you there, thank you for watching. See you later.